at 4:30. This is probably the worst game on the slate for Thanksgiving. However, Sam Howell did have a bad game this week. So do you think he's going to have a good game versus Dallas, or they're just going to run through him?
Well, it is an even odd week, so I'd like to think that they will be. They got absolutely cooked by Tommy DeBaby, warm milk, cookies, bedside blanket, Tommy DeVito. And maybe the downside was that before the game, they couldn't have a nice warm shower in their own stadium. So maybe being in Jerry World, maybe they can actually have a warm shower before the game, get warmed up like every other NFL franchise does, XFL franchise, hell, even the Canadian Football League, who I'm sure we'll see highlights of on Red Zone this week.
For some reason.
I actually think this game is going to be closer than what many expect. The Cowboys have had a lot of easy competition the last 2 weeks. They had the Giants and the Panthers, two teams that are anemic on offense, unless if they're facing the Washington Commanders defense. And now they come in. Sam Howell, it's an even week, so that means he'll be a franchise Baker Mayfield. And they got Brian Robinson, and they got Terry McLaurin. So this game will be closer than we think. I think the Commanders will cover the spread, but I'll pick the Cowboys to win here. I'll go 26-21.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys will win, and I think they'll win going away. There is a point where when you're good one week and bad the next week, that just turns into bad as soon as the season goes on, especially once we get into November and December. This is the witching hour of the NFL right now. It's where playoff teams become out of the playoff teams and where out of the playoff teams become in the playoff teams. So I think for right now, the Commanders, you trade Sweat, you trade Chase Young, you're taking a cold shower in your stadium. You can't even rely on the fact that you'll be able to get warm after a tough loss. And then you're leaving guys wide open for Tommy DeVito. What do you think CeeDee Lamb is going to do if you can't defend Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson? It's like these are guys who they've been fine, and I get some of it is the situation with the offensive line. Brian Daboll having a sophomore slump as a head coach, and then giving $140 million to Daniel Jones can't be the most inspiring thing in the world if you're on that team. But if you're leaving those guys wide open and Tommy DeVito is having a better game than any game Daniel Jones has had all season versus you, what do you think the Cowboys are going to do to you? They're going to run up and down the field in this game. Maybe it's a game like it was with Carolina where they get off to a slow start and then the fourth quarter they go berserk and then Micah Parsons starts getting his way. But yeah, those odd even weeks just turn to bad the rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Cowboys have had a lot of easy wins, and I think the Commanders' offense should be a little bit more of a problem for them than these last 2 weeks. And the Cowboys are a team that also, I feel like on Thanksgiving is when they do a classic primetime Cowboys collapse. And this is more of an indictment on the Cowboys than on the Commanders.
Yeah.
Commanders' defense, I don't think they can play any worse than they did last week. And maybe, we got Joe Biden, Rivera coaching up there. Maybe they can make some adjustments on the defensive side. But I think this is more of an indictment on the Cowboys and my lack of faith in them week in and week out. So that's why I have them being a little bit of a closer game than what the spread would say.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be a blowout. I think at some point it's not going to be close. And the Cowboys, the best thing they do is front run. I could see if they can push the ball down the field earlier in the game, that's usually when the Cowboys start to be uncomfortable. But just with what I've seen from the Commanders, it looks like that roster has been demoralized since the deadline, and the owners pretty much saying, yeah, everyone's going to be gone after the offseason. Let's see what we have with Sam Howell. But I hope I'm wrong because I want it to be a competitive game. But the only case I could see is you are right about the Cowboys. I remember that famous Carolina Panthers Cowboys game when Tony Romo, his first game back, and then he throws 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
And they get destroyed.
Yeah, I've seen the Cowboys on Thanksgiving historically and feel like they underperform pretty heavily on Thanksgiving. So maybe it's too much turkey. Maybe it's that whatever chemical that's in that turkey that makes you sleepy. But
yeah,
I think maybe the Cowboys could see that in this game. And I don't think the Commanders win this game, but I see the Cowboys falling asleep at the wheel at some extent.